Sarah had learned to make herself small. At banquets, she sat at the furthest table, in the darkest corner, where no one would notice her. At balls, she pressed herself against the walls, watching others dance while pretending she didn't exist. At every social gathering her stepmother forced her to attend, she found the most isolated spot and prayed to be invisible. It usually worked. Tonight, it didn't. Look at her, sitting there like a ghost. The voice carried across the hall, sharp and mocking. Lady Cassandra, daughter of a duke, surrounded by her pack of equally cruel friends. Does she think anyone wants to sit with her? Does she think anyone even sees her? Laughter rippled through the group. Sierra kept her eyes fixed on her plate, her cheeks burning. I heard her own family can't stand her. Another voice chimed in. Her stepmother had to bribe the servants just to bring her tonight. Otherwise, she'd be locked in her room like always. More laughter, louder now, drawing attention from nearby tables. Sarah's hands trembled in her lap. She should leave. She should get up and walk out and never come back. But her stepmother had made it clear. If she embarrassed the family by leaving early, there would be consequences. So she sat and endured and wished, desperately, that the floor would open up and swallow her whole. Perhaps we should go say hello, Cassandra said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. The poor thing looks so lonely. Someone should keep her company. Her friends giggled as they rose from their seats, moving toward Sarah's corner like predators circling wounded prey. Sarah braced herself. She knew what was coming. The mock concern, the cruel questions, the whispered insults designed to cut deep while appearing harmless. She had survived it before. She would survive it again. But then, this seat taken. The voice was deep, commanding, utterly unfamiliar. Sarah looked up and forgot how to breathe. The man standing before her was enormous, tall and broad-shouldered, with black hair that fell past his collar and a jaw that could have been carved from granite. His eyes were the color of molten gold, burning with an intensity that made her skin prickle. He was also, unmistakably, wearing the royal crest of the Lycan kingdom. What? Sarah managed. The seat. He gestured to the empty chair beside her. Is it taken? No, but you can't. I mean. She was stammering. She never stammered. There are much better seats, closer to the front, with important people. I'm aware. He pulled out the chair and sat down, his massive frame making the furniture look comically small. I chose this one. The hall had gone silent. Every eye was fixed on their corner, on the strange sight of the Lycan king, because that's who he had to be, Sarah realized with dawning horror. Sitting beside the girl, everyone mocked. Cassandra and her friends had frozen mid-approach, their expressions shifting from predatory amusement to shocked confusion. Your Majesty, Cassandra recovered first, dropping into a curtsy. We were just coming to welcome Lady Sarah to the gathering. Perhaps you'd like to join us at our table instead? We have much better. No. The single word cut through the air like a blade. The king didn't even look at Cassandra. His golden eyes remained fixed on Sarah. But surely you'd prefer. I said no. Now he did turn, and something in his expression made Cassandra take a step back. I'm exactly where I want to be. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. Cassandra's face flushed an ugly red. She opened her mouth, closed it, and finally retreated to her table without another word. Her friends scurried after her like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Sarah stared at the king, her heart hammering against her ribs. Why? She whispered. Why would you? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. You're the Lycan king, and you're the only person in this room who isn't trying to impress me." His voice softened slightly. "You're also the only person those vultures thought they could torment without consequence." His jaw tightened. "They were wrong. You don't even know me." "I know enough." He leaned back in his chair, his presence somehow both overwhelming and oddly comforting. "I know you've been sitting in this corner for 2 hours without anyone speaking to you. I know those women have been mocking you all night while everyone else pretended not to hear. I know your own family seated you as far from them as possible." Sarah's eyes burned. "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching." His golden gaze held hers. "I notice things others miss, especially things that shouldn't be happening. This isn't unusual. I'm used to it. That makes it worse, not better." Something dangerous flickered in his expression. No one should be used to being treated like they don't exist. Sarah didn't know what to say. No one had ever, no one had ever cared. Not about her. Not about what she endured. "What's your name?" the king asked. "Sarah. Sarah Thornwood." "Sarah." He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting the syllables. "I'm Kyle. I know who you are. Everyone knows who you are." "Then you know I don't do anything without reason." He reached for a goblet of wine that a terrified servant had rushed to place before him. "Which means you should probably ask yourself why the Lycan king chose to sit beside the girl everyone mocks." Sarah's throat tightened. "I don't know. I can't imagine why." "Can't you?" His eyes met hers, and something in them made her stomach flip. Perhaps I saw something no one else bothered to look for. Perhaps I recognized worth where others see only weakness. He took a slow sip of wine. Or perhaps I simply couldn't stomach watching those vultures circle you for one more second. "So this is pity?" "No." The word was sharp, absolute. "This is interest. This is curiosity. This is a king who has attended 1,000 of these insufferable gatherings and never once felt compelled to leave his designated seat." His lips curved slightly. "Until tonight." The music had started again, but no one was dancing. Every eye in the hall remained fixed on their corner, watching the impossible scene unfold. "They're all staring," Sarah murmured. "Let them." Kyle's voice dropped to something almost gentle. "Let them see that you're not alone anymore. Let them wonder what I see in you that they were too blind to notice." His golden eyes gleamed. "Let them choke on their own cruelty." Sarah felt something crack in her chest, something that had been frozen for years. "You can't just—" Her voice broke. "You'll leave after tonight. You'll go back to your kingdom, and I'll still be here. And they'll be worse than ever because I dared to—" "Who says I'm leaving?" She stared at him. "What?" "I came here looking for something." His gaze never wavered. "I think I may have found it." "Found what?" Kyle smiled, a slow, dangerous expression that transformed his harsh features into something almost beautiful. "That," he said, "is what I intend to find out." He signaled to a servant, and moments later a plate of food appeared before Sarah. Real food, not the scraps she'd been given. "Eat," Kyle said. "We have much to discuss." Sarah looked at the plate, at the king beside her, at the hall full of shocked faces and whispered speculation. She had come to this banquet expecting another night of humiliation, another night of being invisible, another night of surviving. Instead, the Lycan king had sat beside her and changed everything. She didn't know what it meant. She didn't know what came next. But for the first time in years, she wasn't alone. And that, she was beginning to realize, might change everything. The rest of the banquet passed in a blur. Kael stayed beside her the entire night. He talked to her. Actually talked. Not the polite nothings that nobles exchanged, but real conversation. He asked about her life, her interests, what books she read, and what dreams she harbored. He listened to her answers like they mattered. No one had ever listened to her like that before. When the night finally ended, Sarah expected him to disappear, to return to his delegation, his responsibilities, his world that had nothing to do with a forgotten girl in a dark corner. Instead, he walked her to her family's carriage. "I'll call on you tomorrow," he said, his golden eyes gleaming in the torchlight. "You don't have to—" "I know." His hand caught hers, and the warmth of his touch sent sparks racing up her arm. "I want to." Sera's stepmother nearly fainted when she saw the Lycan king helping her stepdaughter into the carriage. Her stepsisters, Margot and Helena, stared with undisguised fury. "Your Majesty," her stepmother simpered. "What an unexpected honor. If we had known you were interested in meeting our family, we would have—" "I've met the only member of your family who interests me." Kael's voice was pleasant, but his eyes were cold. "I'll be calling tomorrow. I expect Sarah to be available." It wasn't a request. The carriage ride home was silent. Sarah could feel her stepmother's rage building like a storm, could see Margot and Helena exchanging venomous glances. She braced for the explosion. It came the moment they were inside. "What did you do?" Her stepmother grabbed her arm, fingernails digging into flesh. "What lies did you tell him? What tricks did you use?" "Nothing. I didn't do anything. He sat down and—" "Kings don't just sit down with nobodies," Margot shrieked. "You must have done something." "Perhaps she threw herself at him," Helena sneered. "Offered herself like a common—" "Enough!" Sarah wrenched her arm free, surprised by her own boldness. "I didn't do anything. He chose to sit with me. He chose to talk to me. And he's coming back tomorrow, whether you like it or not." Her stepmother's face twisted with fury. "You think this changes anything? You think one night of a king's attention makes you special? He'll forget you by morning. They always do." "Maybe." Sarah's voice trembled, but she held her ground. "But he hasn't forgotten me yet, and until he does, you can't touch me." She fled to her room before they could respond, locking the door behind her. Only then did she allow herself to break down. The tears came hard and fast, tears of shock and hope and terror. What had happened tonight? Why had Kael chosen her? What did he want? And the most terrifying question of all, what would happen when he inevitably lost interest? She fell asleep with no answers, only the memory of golden eyes and a voice that had said, "Not anymore." Kael came the next day, as promised. He arrived with an escort of Lycan guards, their presence making it impossible for her stepmother to refuse him entry. He asked for Sarah specifically, ignoring the simpering attempts of Margot and Helena to capture his attention. "Walk with me," he said when Sarah appeared. "I want to show you something." Her stepmother tried to insist on a chaperone. Kael looked at her with those golden eyes and said simply, "No." They walked through the gardens of the estate, away from prying eyes and listening ears. Sarah's heart pounded with every step. "You're afraid," Kael observed. "I'm confused." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "Your Majesty." Kyle. Kyle. The name felt strange on her tongue, intimate. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? I'm nobody. I have nothing to offer you. My family has no power, no wealth, no connections worth pursuing. There's no political advantage to knowing me. You're right. He moved closer, and she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. There's no advantage at all. No logical reason for a king to seek out a woman who sits alone at banquets and lets herself be mocked. Then why? Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. His voice dropped low. Because I watched you sit in that corner for 2 hours, enduring their cruelty without flinching, and I saw something that made me feel things I haven't felt in 300 years. Sarah's breath caught. 300? You're that old? Older. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. I've lived long enough to know that the things worth having rarely make sense. And I've been alone long enough to recognize someone else who understands that kind of loneliness. You're a king. You're surrounded by people. Being surrounded by people isn't the same as not being alone. His hand rose slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her cheek. You know that better than anyone, don't you? Tears pricked her eyes. I've been alone my whole life. Even in a room full of people, I'm invisible. You're not invisible to me. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I see you, Sarah. I've seen you since the moment I walked into that hall, and I don't intend to stop seeing you. What does that mean? It means I want to know you, really know you, not the mask you wear for survival, but the woman underneath. His golden eyes burned into hers. It means I'm asking for time, for a chance, for the opportunity to prove that what I feel isn't just curiosity. What do you feel? Kyle was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. I feel like I've been searching for something my entire life without knowing what it was. And then I saw you, alone, forgotten, treated like you didn't matter. And something in my chest recognized something in yours. He shook his head. I can't explain it better than that. I just know that walking away from you isn't an option. Sarah's heart was racing so fast, she thought it might burst. This is insane, she whispered. We met last night. You don't know me. I don't know you. This isn't how things work. It's exactly how things work for my kind. His hand slid from her cheek to capture her hand. Lycans don't choose our mates with logic. We recognize them, we feel them, and once we do, nothing else matters. Mates? The word came out strangled. You think I'm your... I think you might be. He brought her hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. I think the moment I saw you, my soul knew something my mind is still trying to understand. And I think... His voice softened. I think you feel it too, even if you don't know what it is yet. Sarah thought about the way her heart raced when he looked at her, the way his touch sent electricity through her veins, the way she had felt more seen in one night than in her entire life. I feel something, she admitted. I don't know what it is, but I feel it. Then give me time. He squeezed her hand. Let me court you properly. Let me show you what it means to be valued. Let me prove that last night wasn't a fluke. That I see you, and I choose you. And nothing your family or anyone else says will change that. And if I say no, then I'll respect your decision. I'll leave, and I won't bother you again. His jaw tightened. But I hope you won't say no, Sarah, because I truly think, we could be extraordinary together. Sarah looked at him, this ancient, powerful king who had chosen to sit beside her when no one else would. who had walked into her world and refused to let her be invisible. She thought about the years of loneliness, the mockery, the endless nights of wondering if she would ever matter to anyone. "Yes," she said, "I'll give you time." Kyle's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "Then let's begin." The courtship of Sarah Thornwood became the scandal of the season. Every day, Kyle arrived at the estate with gifts. Not jewels or gold, things that could be dismissed as a king's casual generosity, but books he thought she would love, flowers in her favorite colors, a beautiful cloak lined with fur, because he'd noticed her shivering once. He paid attention. He remembered. He cared about the details that made her her. And every day, Sarah fell a little more in love with him. They walked through gardens and talked for hours. He told her about his kingdom, the forests that stretched for miles, the mountains that touched the sky, the wolves that ran free under the moon. She told him about her childhood before her father remarried, when she had been happy and loved and believed she mattered. "What happened?" Kyle asked one afternoon, 3 weeks into their courtship. "To change things?" "My father died." Sarah's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "I was 12. My stepmother got everything, the estate, the money, the power over my life. She'd always resented me, but with my father gone, she didn't have to hide it anymore." "And no one helped you? No one noticed what she was doing?" "People noticed. They just didn't care." She smiled bitterly. "I was inconvenient. Easier to pretend I didn't exist than to intervene on behalf of a girl with no power and no allies." Cale's jaw clenched. "If I had known—" "You didn't. No one did. That's the point." She reached for his hand, and the warmth of his grip steadied her. "But you know now. And you're here. That's more than anyone has ever given me." "It's not enough." His voice was fierce. "You deserve more than scraps of attention. You deserve to be cherished, protected, loved without condition or reservation." "And you think you can give me that?" "I know I can." He pulled her closer, and she went willingly, her heart racing. "I've been alive for 3 centuries, Sarah. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've watched love stories begin and end. And I have never felt about anyone the way I feel about you. How do you feel about me?" His golden eyes blazed. "Like you're the part of me I didn't know was missing. Like every lonely night, every empty year, every moment of wondering if I would spend eternity alone. It was all leading to this. To you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Kyle, I love you." The words came out raw, almost desperate. "I know it's too soon. I know we've only known each other for weeks. But I love you, Sarah. I love your strength and your kindness, and the way you survived when no one gave you reason to. I love the woman you are, and the woman you're becoming." His hand cupped her face. "I love you, and I don't want to wait another second to tell you." Sarah had spent her whole life being told she was nothing, worthless, unlovable. And now a king, an ancient, powerful, beautiful king, was standing before her, telling her she was everything. "I love you too," she whispered. The words felt like freedom, like finally stepping into sunlight after years in shadow. Cale kissed her. It was gentle at first, a brush of lips, a question. But when she pressed closer, when her hands fisted in his shirt, the kiss deepened into something fierce and consuming. She felt it in her bones, in her blood, in the very marrow of her being. This was right. This was where she belonged. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard. Kale pressed his forehead to hers. "Come back with me," he said. "To my kingdom. Be my queen?" Sarah's heart stuttered. "What?" "I'm asking you to marry me." His voice was steady, certain. "I'm asking you to leave this place where no one sees you and come to a place where everyone will. I'm asking you to spend the rest of your life beside me, ruling together, building something beautiful." "I… this is…" She laughed, overwhelmed. "This is insane. You know that, right? You're asking me to marry you after 3 weeks." "I'm asking you to marry me after 300 years of waiting for you." His smile was soft. The 3 weeks were just confirmation. "What about my family? They'll never agree." "I don't need their agreement. I need yours." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Say yes, Sarah. Say yes, and I'll take you away from all of this. Say yes, and you'll never sit alone again." She thought about her life here, the mockery, the loneliness, the endless years stretching before her, filled with nothing but survival. Then she thought about Kyle, the way he looked at her, the way he listened, the way he had walked into her darkness and refused to leave. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." His smile was incandescent. He kissed her again, longer this time, deeper, and Sarah felt the last of her walls crumble. She was done protecting herself from hope. She was done expecting disappointment. She was going to be a queen, and for the first time in her life, she was going to be loved. That night, Kale formally requested an audience with her stepmother. Sarah stood beside him, her hand in his, as he delivered the news. "I'm taking Sarah back to my kingdom," he said. "We will be married within the month." Her stepmother's face cycled through shock, fury, and finally, calculated sweetness. "Your Majesty, this is so sudden. Surely you'll want a proper engagement period. Time to plan the wedding, to invite the proper guests." "No. But tradition dictates. I am the Lycan king. I dictate tradition." His voice was pleasant, but his eyes were steel. "Sarah has agreed to be my wife. We leave tomorrow. This conversation is a courtesy, not a negotiation." Margot stepped forward, her expression twisted with jealousy. "You can't be serious. You're choosing her? She's nothing. She's nobody. She doesn't even know how to be a proper lady, let alone a queen." "She knows how to be kind in a world that gave her no kindness. She knows how to survive when everyone around her wished she would disappear. She knows how to remain gentle when cruelty was all she received." Kale's arm tightened around Sarah's waist. "Those are the only qualities a queen requires. Everything else can be learned." Helena tried next. "Your Majesty, if it's a bride you want, surely one of us would be more suitable." "You mocked her." Kale's voice dropped to a growl. "You tormented her. You made her life a misery and thought no one was watching." His golden eyes flashed. "I was watching, and I will never forget." The room fell silent. "Sarah is my mate," Kale continued. "My chosen, my future queen. Anyone who wishes to remain in my good graces will treat her accordingly." He looked at her stepmother. "Is that understood?" Her stepmother's smile was frozen. "Of course, Your Majesty." "Good." Kale turned to Sarah, and his expression softened. "Go pack whatever you want to bring. Leave the rest. You won't need anything from this life where we're going." Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. She was leaving. After all these years, she was finally leaving, and she was never, ever coming back. They arrived at Kale's kingdom 3 days later. The Lycan territory was everything he had described and more. Vast forests of ancient trees, mountains that scraped the sky, a castle of dark stone that rose from the earth like a crown. Wolves roamed freely through the grounds, their golden eyes watching Sarah with curiosity rather than hostility. "They know who you are," Kyle said, watching her watch them. "They can sense that you belong here." "Do I?" Sarah's voice was small. "Belong here?" "You belong wherever I am." He pulled her close. "And I belong here. So yes, you belong." The castle staff welcomed her with warmth that still felt foreign. Servants bowed. Guards nodded respectfully. Everyone treated her like she mattered, like her presence was a gift rather than a burden. It was overwhelming and wonderful and terrifying. The wedding was planned for the next full moon, 2 weeks away. Sarah spent her days learning the castle, meeting Kyle's advisors, trying to understand the world she was about to become queen of. And every night, Kyle came to her. They talked for hours, sharing stories and secrets and dreams. They kissed until Sarah's lips were swollen and her heart was racing. They fell asleep in each other's arms, and for the first time in her life, Sarah knew what it meant to feel safe. She should have known it couldn't last. The delegation arrived 1 week before the wedding. Sarah was in the library when a servant found her, his face pale with worry. "My lady, there are visitors from the human territories. They're demanding an audience with the king. They say—" He hesitated. "They say they've come to reclaim you." Her blood turned to ice. She found Kyle in the great hall, standing before her stepmother, her stepsisters, and a man she didn't recognize. Tall, thin, wearing the robes of a magistrate. "Sarah." Kyle's voice was calm, but his eyes were blazing. "Come stand beside me." She crossed the hall on trembling legs, taking her place at his side. His hand found hers and held tight. "Now," Kyle said, his voice deadly soft, "explain to my future queen what you think gives you the right to enter my kingdom and make demands." Her stepmother's smile was poison wrapped in silk. "Your Majesty, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We're not here to make demands. We're here to correct an error." "What error?" The magistrate stepped forward, producing a scroll. "Lady Sarah Thornwood is legally bound by a marriage contract signed by her late father before his death. She was promised to Lord Aldrich Vane of the Eastern Province. The contract is binding and cannot be broken without the consent of both parties." Sarah's world tilted. "What? No, that's impossible. My father would never—" "Your father signed this contract when you were 10 years old," her stepmother interrupted smoothly. "He intended it as a provision for your future. Lord Vane has been very patient, waiting for you to come of age. But his patience has limits." A man stepped out from behind the delegation, older, with cold eyes and a cruel mouth. Lord Vane. He looked at Sarah like she was property to be collected. "My bride," he said. "I've waited long enough." "She's not your bride." Kyle's voice was a growl, barely human. "She's mine." "With respect, Your Majesty, the law disagrees." The magistrate held up the scroll. "This contract predates any claim you might have. Lady Sarah is legally bound to Lord Vane. If you refuse to release her, you'll be in violation of the Treaty of Thornbrook, which your own grandfather signed. It could mean war between our territories." The hall went silent. Sarah could feel the tension radiating from Kyle, could see his hands clenching into fists. "You would threaten war," he said slowly. "Over one woman?" "Over the law," the magistrate corrected. over treaties and contracts and the foundations of civilized society? Surely the Lycan king understands the importance of honoring agreements. Sira's heart was breaking. She had been so close to happiness, to freedom, to a life where she finally mattered. And now it was being ripped away. "I'll go," she whispered. Kale's head snapped toward her. "What?" "I'll go with them." Tears streamed down her face, but her voice was steady. "I won't let you start a war over me. I'm not worth—" "Don't," his voice cracked. "Don't you dare say you're not worth it." "But I'm not. I'm nobody, Kale. I've always been nobody. And you're a king. You have a kingdom to protect. People who depend on you." She touched his face with a trembling hand. "I won't let you sacrifice them for me. I would sacrifice everything for you." His eyes were wet. "Don't you understand that? I would burn the world down before I let them take you." "And that's why I have to go. Because you would." She smiled through her tears. "Because you love me too much to see clearly. So I have to see clearly for both of us." "Sarah." "Let me go, Kale." Her voice broke. "Please, let me go." His hands were shaking as they cupped her face. "I can't. I won't." "You have to." She kissed him, soft and desperate and final. She poured everything she felt into that kiss, every ounce of love and hope and heartbreak. Then she pulled away. "I love you," she whispered. "I will always love you." She turned toward her stepmother, toward Lord Vane, toward the future she had tried so hard to escape. "Wait." Kale's voice rang through the hall like thunder. Sarah froze. "The contract," he said, his voice suddenly calm. "Show it to me." The magistrate hesitated, then handed over the scroll. Kyle unrolled it, his golden eyes scanning the contents. And then he smiled. It was not a nice smile. "This contract," he said slowly, "is signed by Sarah's father, correct?" "Correct." "And it binds Sarah to marry Lord Vane upon reaching the age of majority, which in the human territories is 21, the magistrate supplied. 21. Kale's smile widened. "And how old is Sarah now?" "She's 20. The magistrate stopped. His face went pale. "She's 22, Kale finished. "The contract expired a year ago. It's worthless." Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. Her stepmother's face drained of color. That can't be. It can. It is." Kyle handed the scroll back to the magistrate. "Your contract is void. Your claim is invalid. And you—" He turned to Lord Vane, and his eyes were murder. "You attempted to steal my mate with a worthless piece of paper." Lord Vane stumbled backward. "I didn't know," the stepmother said. "I don't care what she said." Kyle advanced on him, and the man visibly trembled. "You came into my kingdom. You threatened my bride. You tried to take what is mine. Your Majesty, please. Get out." The words were barely human, more growl than speech. "Get out of my kingdom. All of you. If I ever see any of you again, I will tear you apart with my bare hands, and I will enjoy every second of it." The delegation fled. Sarah stood frozen, her heart pounding, tears still streaming down her face. Kyle turned to her, and his expression shifted from fury to overwhelming tenderness. "You were going to leave me," he said quietly. "You were going to sacrifice yourself to protect me. I thought—" "I know what you thought. He crossed to her and pulled her into his arms. You thought you weren't worth fighting for? You thought I would be better off without you? His voice roughened. You were wrong, Sarah. You were so, so wrong. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed. I'm sorry, she gasped. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize, just promise me. He tilted her face up, his eyes fierce. Promise me you'll never try to sacrifice yourself for me again. Promise me you'll let me fight for you. I promise. Good. He kissed her forehead. Because I will never let you go. Not for contracts or treaties or the threat of war. You are mine, Sarah Thornwood, and I protect what's mine. She believed him. For the first time in her life, she truly believed she was worth protecting. The wedding took place under the full moon, exactly as planned. The great hall had been transformed into something from a dream. Thousands of candles cast golden light across the stone walls. White flowers cascaded from every surface, their petals gleaming like stars. The entire Lycan kingdom had gathered to witness their king take a bride. And Sarah, the girl who had spent her life sitting alone, stood at the center of it all. Her gown was silver and white, fitted to her frame like it had been spun from moonlight itself. Her hair was loose, threaded with tiny diamonds that caught the candlelight. She had never felt more beautiful, more seen, more real. Cale waited at the altar, dressed in black and gold, his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her heart race. When she reached him, he took her hands, and she felt tremors running through his grip. You're shaking, she whispered. I've waited 300 years for this moment. His voice was rough. I'm allowed to shake. The elder who would perform the ceremony stepped forward, her silver hair gleaming in the candlelight. We gather tonight to witness a bonding, she announced. The joining of two souls who found each other against impossible odds. The completion of a king who waited centuries for his mate. She turned to Cale. Cale, king of the Lycan territories, do you claim this woman as your mate? Your equal? Your queen? I do. His voice rang clear through the hall. I claim her with every breath in my body. I will love her, protect her, and honor her for the rest of eternity. The elder turned to Sarah. Sarah Thornwood, daughter of the human territories, do you accept this claim? Do you bind yourself to this man and this kingdom freely, without reservation or fear? Sarah thought about the banquet where everything had changed, the corner where she had sat alone, waiting for mockery that never came, because a king had sat beside her instead. I do, she said, her voice strong and clear. I accept him with my whole heart. I will stand beside him, support him, and love him for as long as I live. Then let the bond be sealed. Cale produced a silver blade. Sarah held out her palm without hesitation. The cut was shallow, barely a sting. When their hands clasped together, blood meeting blood, Sarah felt the bond snap into place. It was overwhelming. Cale's love flooded through her, fierce and protective and all-consuming. His joy, bright enough to blind. His relief, centuries of loneliness finally ending in this single perfect moment. And beneath it all, a sense of rightness, of completion, of two souls finally finding home. By blood and moonlight, the elder declared. By choice and covenant, these two are bound. What fate has joined, let no force sunder. Cale pulled Sarah into his arms and kissed her deeply, thoroughly, in front of everyone. The hall erupted in cheers. Wolves howled their approval. The moon herself seemed to shine brighter through the high windows, blessing the union below. My queen, Kale murmured against her lips. My mate. My heart. My king, she whispered back. My love. My home. When they finally broke apart, Kale raised their joined hands high. Your queen, he roared. The woman who sat alone while the world ignored her. The woman who endured cruelty without breaking. The woman who proved that worth has nothing to do with circumstance and everything to do with character. The crowd erupted again, louder than before. Sarah looked out at the sea of faces, people cheering for her, celebrating her, seeing her, and tears streamed down her face. She had spent 22 years invisible. Now an entire kingdom was chanting her name. The celebration lasted until dawn. There was feasting and dancing and more joy than Sarah had ever witnessed. People she had never met approached her with warm smiles, welcoming her to the kingdom, telling her they were honored to have her as their queen. Through it all, Kale never left her side. How do you feel? He asked as the sun began to rise. Like I'm dreaming. Like I've been dreaming since the moment you sat beside me at that banquet. It's not a dream. He pulled her close. This is real. We are real. And we have forever to prove it. 1 year later, Sarah sat in the great hall of the Lycan kingdom, surrounded by advisors and petitioners and the endless business of ruling. She was no longer the girl who made herself small. She was Queen Sarah, beloved by her people, feared by her enemies, cherished by her mate. And she was never, ever alone. There's a delegation from the human territories requesting an audience, one of her advisors announced. Lady Cassandra and several other nobles. They claim they wish to pay their respects. Sarah's lips curved into a smile. Lady Cassandra, the woman who had mocked her at that fateful banquet. The woman who had called her a ghost, had asked if anyone even saw her. Send them in, Sarah said. The doors opened, and Cassandra entered with her entourage. She looked older than Sarah remembered, her face pinched with anxiety. When she saw Sarah seated on the throne, her eyes widened. Your Majesty. She dropped into a deep curtsy. We've come to offer our congratulations on your marriage, and to extend our hopes for continued friendship between our territories. Friendship? Sarah let the word hang in the air. I remember our last interaction, Lady Cassandra. Do you? Cassandra's face went pale. Your Majesty, You asked if anyone wanted to sit with me. You asked if anyone even saw me. Sarah rose from her throne and descended the steps slowly. You made my life a misery because you thought no one was watching, because you thought I had no power and no one who cared. I'm so sorry. I don't want your apology. Sarah stopped directly in front of her. I want you to understand something. The girl you mocked, the ghost you laughed at, she's a queen now. And you, she smiled. You're kneeling before her. Cassandra's eyes filled with tears. Her entourage looked terrified. I could destroy you, Sarah said quietly. I could ban you from this kingdom, ruin your reputation, make your life as miserable as you made mine. Please, but I won't. Sarah stepped back. Because I'm not you. I don't need to tear others down to feel powerful. I know my worth now, and nothing you did, nothing you could ever do, changes that. She returned to her throne and sat down beside Kyle, who had watched the entire exchange with pride blazing in his golden eyes. You may go, Sarah told Cassandra. And Lady Cassandra, the next time you see someone sitting alone, remember this moment. Remember that you never know who they might become. Cassandra fled. Her entourage scrambled after her. Kale took Sarah's hand and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "That was magnificent," he murmured. "I learned from the best." She smiled at him. "A king once sat beside a lonely girl and changed her entire life. The least I can do is pass on the lesson." "And what lesson is that?" "That everyone deserves to be seen, that worth isn't determined by circumstance, that sometimes—" She leaned over and kissed him softly. "Sometimes the person sitting alone is exactly who you've been waiting for." Kale pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "I love you," he said. "I will love you for the rest of eternity." "I love you too." Sierra rested her head on his shoulder. "And I will never sit alone again." Outside, the wolves began to howl, a song of joy, of triumph, of love that would echo through the ages. The girl who was mocked for sitting alone, the queen who proved that worth comes from within, the mate who showed an entire kingdom that the people others overlook are often the ones most worth seeing. If you loved Sarah and Kyle's story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. Drop a comment below telling me your favorite part. I read every single one. Until next time, stay wild.